Hey, welcome to Friday. It's behind the scenes, and my name is Sarah, and welcome to my studio. It's just a time that I wrap up my week, so to speak, and begin to sort through a few things. As you can see behind me, I've got stacks everywhere. And that's just what I've come to know as far as my creativity. I just go with the flow. And so, anyhow, I decided to start this a couple of weeks ago, and I've enjoyed it. And I want to appreciate some of the notes that I received from you, too. I hope this is going to be inspiring. Today, we're just going to talk about really, you know, creativity in this time with things being so different with the coronavirus. And I feel like it's important for me to talk about this because we're because living more creatively is really what we're called to do. I mean, when we accept what is, we're left with what we can, and doing what we can with what we have. So that's why I do what I do. I help women discover the emotional outlet they didn't know they had. That's color. And, we don't know what we're capable of until it's called out of us. So I just want to focus on that part of what's going on, and not to minimize the hardships, the fear, the concerns, that kind of thing. I just want to do my part, carry my message, and we each have something to bring to the occasion, and this is mine. So I'm happy to be with you and share with you what I'm practicing. I put together like a little slide series, so I'm going to bring that in now, so that let's see if I can do that without cutting us down. So I'm going to hopefully keep on track a little bit, because I feel like I have so much to say, and I want to be mindful of our time together. So that's it. So really, we do what we can with what we have, and this is why I do what I do. I help women discover that emotional outlet inside of them, that they can connect with themselves, and when we're more connected to ourselves, we can do better, because we're going to find parts of ourselves in these times that, like I said, that we don't even know that we had, or needs that we didn't even know we had. So it's awesome. And that's why I love using art and color. Color crosses all those barriers. I can use color to express any emotion, no matter what circumstance I'm in, and it's exciting. So I help women discover that outlet, and show them disciplines to help them discover how they can bring together art principles, use those art principles with traditional healing practices, and begin cultivating a greater level or degree of acceptance and love and tolerance. Anything really that you're called to do. And oftentimes in doing that, I just notice I'm totally off script, but that's how I flow. But in doing that, we come up against ourselves, and that could be fears we didn't know we had. Of course, why would we have these fears when we didn't have the concern before? So, being able to step back and be easy with ourselves and give ourselves grace, as well as others, we're going to be able to navigate this, and it's going to be just fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hop over to the slide series, and I'll kind of come back and forth. I don't have a lot of experience doing this flip back and forth, but I'm learning, and it's something that I'm trying. So it is a process, and the only way to be able to know something and have experience is to jump in and begin, and not only begin but continue. So many of us have just done all kinds of creative things in our past. Maybe it was growing up, and maybe it was from our younger years. Maybe they were just creative practices or artistic interests that you had for a season. But maybe now is the time to pick some of that back up and see what it can help us, how it can help us connect with our insides. There's something very visceral for me about holding fibers. And so I've noticed even in my painting, I always use my fingers. I paint a lot with my fingers. Given the choice, that's really all I would use. There's something about that connection, and it's beautiful. So fibers, a lot of times holding them in my hands. If you're like me, it's hard to pick just one color of something. So I know that you have a lot of art supplies, okay? Because over the years, we collect things with good intentions. And so this is a time where I'm going to ask you to call that out and challenge you to maybe use some of the ideas I'm going to share with you today, and begin to develop this sense, this new rhythm that you can count on, this new communication cord, so to speak, that connects you to your insides, because you have all the answers you ever need inside of you. But how do we connect to that well? How do we connect to that pool of meaning? Who am I at this point? Because for some of us, these changes that we're experiencing now directly affect our identity. And as much as I don't want to admit that, it's humbling to say that, wow, I didn't realize that this position or this particular activity lent itself so much to my identity. And so because I can't do that or practice that now, who does that make me? What do I do with that part or facet of me that I was exercising and expressing in that way? And so be encouraged, because, everything is redeemable, and perhaps it's time to set something aside for a season, but picking something else up that's going to be more useful today, that's going to help take you back to that other thing. And you're going to have a new experience with it. So I could go on and on philosophically like that, but let me tell you a little bit about what I'm doing, because that's why you're here. I just feel like it's pertinent. And so again, I'm going to go to that slide series, and I'm going to, I just removed it. So I'm going to add it to the stream. I'm going to take, no, we can't do that. We cannot do it that way. I have to do it this way. Am I doing it this way? Yes. So I am showing you this particular slide, and you've seen that one before. So now what I have to do is I have to find my way back to little patience here. We are learning something. Well, I've done this before. It's just been a while. Okay. So I need to be able to go there without turning my audio off. So let's see, I'm going to, because what I'm going to do is want to change the slides. Okay. So anyway, I'm going to look on my Facebook to see what this looks like. And while I'm doing that, if you have any questions, anything that's kind of piqued your interest so far, I'd like you to put those in the comments. That would help me out. And if you haven't participated before, StreamYard is what I'm using, and you may want to, okay, let's see. In the comments, that would help me out. And if you haven't, perfect. Okay, so I'm on. Okay, I see what you're seeing now, and I needed to be able to do that. Okay, so here we go. We're going to take what we do and do what we can with it. Now, I know for me, turning circumstances into opportunity is a big part of my practice, and there's lots of ways to get there, and that you could use tools that you can use for this. I don't want to focus on all those today, but just the concept of acceptance. And know that acceptance doesn't mean we're resignating ourselves. It doesn't mean that at all. It means that it is what it is. Something is what it is. Life today is what it is, and there's got to be a way through it. And that's the key, is we're going to get through this. We can't go around it. We can't hold our breath and wait for it to pass. It is here, and we're going to grow through it. And then, so in that, we can't brood about it. We can, I mean, obviously, I'm not going to shame or condemn you if you've spent a good amount of time feeling sorry for yourself or being upset or resisting what changes are coming. Maybe even trying to prolong them as much as you can. But at some point, we have to get on with the living and loving. And we don't have forever. And so what I would say to you is, if not now, when? And this is an opportunity for us to live and love well. I don't do this perfectly, not at all. And so I'm practicing, like, how can I live well? How can I love well in this time? Okay, it's difficult. It's going to look different. And so some of it's going to be beautiful and some of it's going to be messy. And what we can do is practice. And if we all kind of step back emotionally and spiritually and know that we're practicing, I think it's going to go fine. So in that stepping back is my kind of way of practicing tolerance, because it's positive and it's just the right thing to do when I step back and I shift to wanting to understand another's beliefs or practices or habits. And that's really the most loving thing I can do for myself and others. And this doesn't mean that I have to share or accept what their practices are, their beliefs are, or their habits. It just means that I accept them and their choices at this moment. And certainly if it doesn't bring me or mine any harm, then they're free to do what they do. This is a time when we can respect autonomy. Each of us has our own right to live the way we live. And we also want to come under the suggestions and the way things we're being instructed to live today, with the idea that just doing that in and of itself is a loving and kind thing to do. And if that's the only thing we can do today, because it's a lot sometimes to embrace all of this, I think that's big. I think it really is big, because when I do what's right for me, it usually is right for others around me. And so just know that, those are just three things that I'm just narrowing everything down. We reduce things to the irreducible minimum, and it can feel much better. So this week, behind the scenes, I have been working on or studying Lee Krasner. And Lee Krasner is an amazing artist, and she's the wife of Jackson Pollock. And the more I listened to YouTube and some different sources that I'm finding online, read about her, study her arts, her different bodies of work, I'm just fascinated. I really am. And what stuck out for me just recently was her collage works. And Lee Krasner, if you look at her works, she goes through different seasons, and that's just the whole nature of art. We paint what's going on inside of us, and so because we're all engaged in life, and life happens, we're responsive. That's the spirit within. Our spirit is responsive, so it can't be anything other than what we are. And so a lot of times when we're painting or we're creating, especially if it comes out something that's not familiar, we feel, oh my gosh, this is messy, this is ugly. What's this all about? It's really what is going inside of us. And for the most of us, when we come up against ourselves in a way that, like, I don't understand why I feel this way, or I feel like I should be doing better, or we tend to want to reject that part of us and ignore it. And so we find outside things to busy us up or distract us. And so when I work creatively with women, I bring them back to their insides, and I use art principles, and I use different traditional healing practices that I've used over the years. And, over a span of over 30 years of practicing health and wellness and healing, and having recovered of so many different things myself, and like learning really what it's like to be an overcomer through creative practices has been really my experience. And I get lit up when I get to help others with that. So I want to take this time during this time with this coronavirus, when we have exactly that. Maybe we have more time on our hands than we used to, or maybe our time looks differently, but we can engage in ways that are creative and that I can help you bring to the occasion, and in ways that are going to, give you a sense of something new, a new rhythm, so to speak. So in her work, this collage, I'm going to tell you about it, but I love this quote. It says, "All my work keeps going like a pendulum. It seems to swing back to something I was involved with earlier, or it moves between horizontally and vertically circularity, I don't know how to pronounce that very well, or a composite of them." So, circles and vertical directions and horizontal movement. And she says, "For me, I suppose that change is the only constant." And I love that, because right now, my flesh, I would be much more comfortable if I could go to something I was familiar with. Okay. And for some of us, that's going to be different for all of us. What is familiar for me, and is important, may not be for you, and vice versa, but they still are. And so for me, when this change happens and it shakes the box up, so to speak, it like puts us all like in the same boat, so to speak, in that we're all uncomfortable. We are all navigating something unfamiliar. And in that place, we have a commonality, and that's really beautiful. And so I really just think it's, that's the mystery of the spirit, because this study and my attraction to her body of works that she did with collage is just like right on time. And I recently, I just wrote a blog article this week, and it addresses this. So if you need a little bit more encouragement or insight on that, you can check out that blog. So what was happening with her, and this painting it's not the whole painting, but it's a portion of her painting titled Milkweed. And let me just share this other quote. "All my work keeps," I just shared it. Okay. So I shared the quote, and see, life was happening to Lee Krasner. And because of all the changes in her life, she was feeling very powerless, and she was working through life and managing all this inner turmoil, so to speak, through her work. As I read and heard, she even left for a period of time. She left her painting. She couldn't bring herself to paint. And then one day she walked back into the studio, and she looked at the works that she had hanging all on her studio walls. And the next thing she knew, she was pulling everything down and just shredding them. And because she didn't feel like it was her. It didn't express her as she was feeling that day at that time in her life. And so she goes, one of the things she said is, she says, "I went into my own blackout period, which lasted 2 or 3 years, where the canvases would simply build up until they get like a stone. And it was always just a gray mess." Now, how much courage and perseverance does that take? I mean, I was like, wow. That really called me up, because sometimes I will start a creative project and, all of a sudden hours later, or maybe a day or two later, I'll just lose interest because I'm not sure I like the way it's going. Well, that doesn't happen for me. Actually, that doesn't happen for me much anymore. But it was really common for me I will say for the last 5 or 6 years, I have been much more able to work through things, because I've really come into my own with this process of connecting my insides through creativity. So some of the things that I put aside, what I'm thinking of, the pictures that are coming to mind, are things I started years ago. And so who knows where this whole collage season will take me. But she began pulling all these paintings down, these works of hers, sketches or whatever, and shredding them. And so in this blackout period, she started shredding and that sort of thing. And she said, I was fighting to find, I knew not what, but I could no longer stay with what I had. So this inner rhythm, she was violating it. She was trying to force something new, and she knew it was essential. She knew she needed to listen to it. She needed to stay with it. And that's the best thing that she could do at the time. And that's how she developed. And we all come to that place where we develop the regard for that inner voice, where it's something beyond what we could come up with. And we come up to this as we really use up all of our best ideas. We have to think ourselves all the way through all this stuff. But if we stick with it, we will find it. We will get that rhythm that we've been looking for. So anyway, I thought I am going to follow the suggestion, of some of the gals I'm studying with, and start maybe doing a collage piece for myself. So, these last few weeks, like I said, we're all trying to navigate these times. We're coming to know it. We're making a lot of changes, and some of these are really difficult, and they're challenging all things. They're challenging our faith. So I want to share this collage experience with you as I take on Lee Krasner's process. And I'm using this as a means of expression to really call out. And the only way I can do that is to this calling out of what really this transformation that I want is to show up and become willing. Just like Lee Krasner, keep painting, keep doing this. And so I really am not comfortable with this. So anyway, what I'm showing you here is I took a painting that I painted back in 2015. And for those of you who've been following me for a while, I haven't been painting that long. So I think I started painting in 2014. This is 2015. And so I think I'd been painting about a year, honestly. And so the idea was to pick a painting that really was not an expression of who I am as an artist right now. So I went back through paintings and I came up with this painting, and I started remembering what it was like, what was going on with me when I painted this, and what was my soul needing, what was my soul wanting at the time. And it worked back then. It worked at that time. It really did. I was so encouraged that I have kept going, even when I didn't know what was going on. And even though, I just wanted more information before I keep going. We oftentimes don't want to take the emotional risk of investing in more time, energy, resources. And I totally get it. But there's something about continuing and pressing through that and waiting for that period of frustration or misunderstanding or resistance of any kind passing. And it will. We come to a free place because we begin tracking with it. So anyway, I shredded this canvas. I unstapled, I took the staples off and I began shredding. And the middle picture is when I started laying this out on just a blank canvas, and I felt like I needed to do something big. Like this, the painting before, I think it was a 24 by 36, something like that. And let's see. I think this is 24 by 30 canvas that's behind me here. So this is it right here. You'll see behind me. And anyway, so after I began laying it out on the canvas, I thought, no, I can't. I need to lay it on color. I was just feeling that. So I took a picture. And I'm not sure how important it was for me to put it exactly on that. So I began working. And as you can see, it's a little bit different. So anyway, this third one, is after I painted the canvas and I began laying and collaging on top of it. So that's where it is right now. And what I can tell you is that, again, this is out of my wheelhouse. I am totally out of my comfort zone with this. And I want to share this time with you because this is a perfect example of letting go of the need to know the result, what techniques I'm going to use, what's going to happen, just like this coronavirus. I know, like, my canvas is kind of like my home. And I know there's some pieces that fit into that home, but that's all I got. I don't have a lot of information. So I felt like this was an opportunity for me to have a public experience and really put this process to a test and say, if there is a mysterious power out there in the universe, and if that's my inner voice that's inside of me, I want to see it. I want you to see it in action. And I'm going to go public with that and really not make it about me, but make it about the process and trust the process. Because in my experience, the more I let go and trust the process, the better my life gets. And I mean that inner life. Now, yes, sometimes that pours over and translates to the outer life. And I'll tell you that a lot of times it does, but I'm doing it for the inner thing. Okay. I'm doing it because I'm anticipating some kind of transformation. I want some new information. And the only way I get some new information is to do some new things and step into something what I don't know. So that's what I'm doing, and I'm excited about it. So this collage process that you can join in with me, it's to activate inner transformation. And we're going to do this with the hope that something new and sustaining will be made visible. Okay, that's what we're looking for. We want something new and sustaining. We want something that we're going to be able to put into practical use in daily living. And chances are our creativity process is going to get an upgrade. Okay, there's no way that we're going to go through this where our art, our artistic expression, our creative process is going to improve. It's going to get an upgrade. So every time we try something new, it gets better. So let's I want to invite you into this and just let you know, hey, come with me. This is behind the scenes to my process. And that's why I'm sharing this with you. And it's why I'm doing this presentation. So let's embrace the uncertainty. And some of the most beautiful chapters in our life won't even have titles until much later. That's what I'm reading right off the screen there. And I'm excited about it. So the next step is I want to invite you into my process. Okay. I want you to jump over to my free Facebook group. And that's where I'm going to be showing up live and walking you through this collage process. All right. So you jump over there, and I'm going to be posting this afternoon how to get started, how to prepare, and a little backstory on collaging. I might even give you some links to some different resources. Okay. Because I'm not going to spend so much time on the how to do it, although I'm going to give you tips and techniques because you'll be watching me in my process, but you may need some more information. So you can ask the questions in the comments, and I will be happy to answer them and give you good direction. And I think it's going to be a great opportunity for us to work together. It's going to be like free creative coaching in my group. And that's what I can offer you during this time. I want to contribute to this group and to the people that I'm serving and the women who are growing, in creative ways. So invite your friends, jump over to Sarah Oliver Women's Art Group. I have given you the link. Let's see, I will give it to you in the comments, but the whole idea is so that we can live more creatively. All right. So the Socrates, this quote, the secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but building the new. And the way that we build new is we step into something more, something more. We don't have to know what that is, but I'll invite you into this safe creative space. And that I can tell you, it's safe. You just follow me in my process. You're going to learn how to do this for yourself. I want to just remind you that, this living creatively is, if not now, when? Okay, what a perfect opportunity. If you've needed permission to set aside time for yourself to work this, and this creative process can be done with painting, it can be done with art journaling, and I'll go into some of that. So the important thing is follow the process. Jump over to my Facebook group, ask to join. You'll be asked 3 questions. It's not a big deal. It's free, and let's get started. Okie doke. So thanks for tuning in, and I will see you again soon. I'm coming back and just want to thank you again. So here's back in my studio. I appreciate you, and wanted to check to see if we had any questions before we left, and we don't. So anyways, keep me posted, and thanks for tuning in. All righty. Bye-bye.